Hello, Dreamcatchers. This is B. Helena, and welcome to the Writers Haven Show. I'm here with a new author that has hit the scene with a bang. Her name is J.P. Dallas, and the name of her book is Fade to Black. Her novel features kick-butt federal agent Shalimar Blacque, who fights crime with no apology in the streets of New York. She squares with corrupt politicians, cops, and still manages to keep it on fleek. Join me in welcoming J.P. Dallas to the Haven. Hello, J.P.
Hello, Helena. How are you?
I am doing well. It is so good to finally have you in the Haven.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. So listen, we got to start off with this because ever since I read this in your bio, I was like, can I wait till she gets in the studio so I can answer this question? What's up with this whole biker chick thing? Let's just get this out of the way. What kind of bike is it? How long have you been riding?
Well, I wasn't riding so much, but my uncle had his own small motorcycle club in Trenton, New Jersey, where I grew up.
What's the name of the club?
Landlords. It was called the Landlords.
Okay.
And I started out just helping him with their parties as a bartender. Mm-hmm. And my aunt and I were doing it so much, he was like, you might as well join the club. And so that biker club was my life for about 7 years.
Okay. That's real.
And so, of course, everyone said, you have to have a biker name. And it was like, okay, what biker name? And at that time, Dallas was really, this is corny, but Dallas was really big.
You mean Dallas,
the television show?
Okay.
So I became Dallas, and my aunt was Barnaby Jones.
Okay. So hence J.P. Dallas was born.
Yes.
And this is long before you jumped into writing.
Oh my gosh, that was a whole other lifetime before.
But I think that's interesting that you kept Dallas to have that just be part of your author persona.
So many people know me as Dallas.
Okay.
So it was just when I started writing, I knew I didn't want to use my real name. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to, so I had, different initials and different names. And
how come you didn't want to use your name?
I don't know.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was just something about not wanting to do it under my real name.
Okay, to be mysterious and anonymous.
Yeah, and then when I came up with JP, and then I was trying to figure out, what to go with that. And I was like, Dallas. Mm-hmm. And then everybody's like, oh, we love that.
I mean, I love your name,
J.P.
Dallas. I mean, it just has that author ring to it.
Thank
So you're a new author.
Yes.
New on the scene, blowing up.
Trying.
And you know what? Because we talked, obviously, before the show, and what you told me about how you started this journey is just jaw-dropping when you consider how well you write.
Oh,
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about your writer's journey and how it began.
Everything begins with God for me. Mm-hmm. He gets all the glory for this. I like to say that when I was younger, there were a lot of things I wanted to be, and writer was nowhere near. And it literally just started one day. Literally, I was sitting at my desk, and I was like, I think I want to write a poem. And then I just started writing poems. And then that translated into short stories.
Mm-hmm. And you were how old at this point?
55.
Okay.
55. This came later. And, I started writing. And because I don't know anything about being an author or writing a book.
Allegedly.
I actually went on Meetup because I thought, well, maybe I need to get into a group or something where there are people who are more experienced than I. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I was there for about 3 or 4 meetings, and the woman who started the Meetup called me and said, do you have anything that we can critique? Mm-hmm. And I was really nervous because I had this little short story. And I thought, yeah, I think it's pretty good for them to do this. And we got to the meeting, and they crushed my story.
Oh, my goodness.
They buried it alive.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was distraught. I mean, I literally left there with an ugly cry. And I was like, okay, then this is a clear indication to me I should not be writing, that this was a fluke, that God, what are you doing to me? I can't do this. And I stopped for a good 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
And then one day I just said, I think I'm going to write a book. And that's how I started.
That's amazing that you didn't allow that experience to crush your
It
your
almost
dream and your
did,
journey.
because I did, like I said, it was a good 6 or 7 months that went by. And I just said, okay, then obviously this is not something I'm supposed to be doing, because I have no idea, the business of writing, the business of publishing. I knew nothing. And then when I decided that I'm going to write this book, is when I really started delving more into the business of it. And I said, I don't want to get crushed, so I'm not doing any more, critique book clubs or whatever you want to call it. Which, hindsight, looking back, I probably should have, because I think it would have given me more understanding, and I would have been around more people that I could have asked more questions to. But I was just so crushed by that first encounter that I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And to have gone through that experience, with fellow authors, so to speak, or writers, and to experience that, I can only imagine how that must have felt for you. But again, coming back and 6 months later and saying, you know what, no, I'm supposed to do this.
Right.
This is a vocation. This is a journey that I'm supposed to be on. And then also, doing it at 55. I mean, and that's a great thing to really highlight, because some people, I think, may be under this idea that, I first of all I should have studied it when I was younger, or I should have gone to school for it and majored in English or something, and then not transitioning to it until I'm 55. I mean, but so there's all these things that people may say, well, maybe this isn't the road I'm supposed to.
And again, hindsight, that particular group for me was so far advanced. I mean, there were some people who had already written a couple of books. There was this woman who wrote for the Post, and I think if I had taken the time to really look at other options and looked around until I found something that I was comfortable in.
You mean a group?
A group, yeah. I probably should have done that. But, the way that everything progressed with this book, maybe I wasn't supposed to.
At that time?
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was a short story that you...
The short story was the one that they destroyed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, is Fade to Black
No.
part of... Okay.
No.
Okay.
This was...
A brand new...
God, I'm telling you, it was just everything about this book is truly God ordained in my eyes. Okay. Just the way the whole process for me took place and how this book came together.
Okay.
Well, and the people involved.
Let's talk more about that. So it's 6 months later, and you said, okay, I that was a bad experience, but I'm going to pick myself up from my bootstraps. I'm going to dive back in because I know this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. How did you come to create the character Shalimar Blacque?
Well, I guess it starts with, what do you know? Okay, well, I'm a Black woman. So, she's obviously going to be a Black woman. I love New York.
Okay.
Love New York. I worked there for about 20 years. So it was going to be a Black woman in New York. But then it became, well, what is this Black woman in New York going to be doing? And I honestly didn't know. And again, it's what you know. I am very addicted to crime, true crime shows.
How addicted are you, JP?
I'm very addicted. ID Channel, Justice Channel, Forensic Files. And so it was just natural that this Black woman in New York was going to be in some capacity in crime. I didn't know exactly what. And when I first started writing the book, she was going to be a New York City police officer. And then as I got further into the book, I decided if she's going to be a police officer, she's going to be very limited in her scope of the things that she could do in her job. Mm-hmm. And so that was squashed. And I figured if she was federal, she would have further reach as a federal agent. So she's a special agent, federal special agent.
Okay. Now, the agency that she works for, is that a fictitious
Yes.
agency? Okay.
I didn't want to use the FBI. I didn't want to use the CIA. And it was just, okay, what can I use?
Okay. So you wanted to create this character that was larger than life.
Oh, she's fierce.
Smart, fierce.
Yeah.
But at the same time, very sexy.
Yes, very feminine.
Feminine.
Very tall. She's over 6 feet. In her stocking feet. And she's beautiful and she's very smart. But because she grew up around all boys, she has that street smart. She can curse with the best of them. Mm-hmm. And she has this tomboyish, in a way, quality about her because of the fact, she could play basketball, she could, jump rope. She could beat the crap out of her cousins. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So all of that later on in life helps her do her job because it makes her fearless.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about character development because, as you pointed out, which I can't believe it, when you say, oh, this is my first book and I never really delved into how to actually write a book. And when I hear you say these things and I read this, I'm like, and then she had the nerve to write it in first person, everybody who hasn't read the book yet. It's just so well done. And the characters, the way that you develop the story and how you develop them in the story. Talk a little bit more about how that process came to be for you. Did you outline the book?
I just wrote.
Did you write linearly?
Yes.
Okay, so chapter 1 and then chapter 2. And okay.
And basically what I did was, I think I wrote, I didn't know they were going to be chapters. I just wrote. Mm-hmm. I just started writing and I couldn't stop. And then I would stop and then reread what I wrote, make changes. And as I'm making the changes, the chapters actually form themselves. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was just right. Now, I've gone to conferences before and, I'm taking all these notes and they said, you should outline. And so when I'm doing all of this writing and I'm not outlining, I'm like, something is going on here that is so beyond anything.
That you're able to still create without using I wouldn't even call it traditional because not all authors outline.
Right.
Some of them do exactly what you're doing. I personally have to outline because there's in the stories there's so many different twists and turns, and for me to just kind of organize that and feel that out, I need to have structure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that works for me, but I do know plenty of authors that they just start writing, and they have done very well for themselves.
Yeah, nothing about this book and this journey is typical for me. Mm-hmm. So, it's a very strange journey, I have to tell you.
So, what is your background? I know you talked about being in the music business, but in terms of how you developed the characters, is there any of JP that's also Shalimar?
I've been asked that question a lot. I don't think so. I've had other people say, I see a little bit of that sass sometimes, and things like that. I don't think so. She's just a figment of my crazy imagination. Actually, at some point, I remember, and it was like, she feels so familiar to me, and I don't know why. And I don't think it had anything to do with me. I think it's because I had a friend that passed away who was this Amazon woman, just amazingly gorgeous, you know, the very short hair and the features. And I think Shalimar in some ways is her. She passed away from cancer. So I think it's more her than it is me, because I don't see any of me. Like I said, a little of the sass. And I do have a problem with cursing, I have to say. There are times that I can
and she
rip
curses
them out.
up a storm.
Oh, yes, she does.
With the best of them.
Yes.
Okay, so what challenges did you face writing in your process?
So many. So many. I think the biggest challenge for me is, you know, it's been a long time since I've been in school. Okay. And so as I'm writing this, I'm like, oh, I know the grammar is horrible. I know it. I just know it. You know, the comma's in the wrong place and the period should be
Well, that's
here.
why we have editors, right?
Right, and that's what I came to. I just decided, you know what, I can't think about that. Let them deal with that.
That's
I'm just
good.
putting the words to the page.
Yeah.
And I think also, and I don't know if it's because I didn't do an outline, like there were parts or there were points when I didn't know where I was taking these characters. And I had to really think about it, you know, because I didn't know what I was doing, too. That was probably the biggest. I just didn't know what I was doing.
So you were kind of led by the characters.
Yeah.
And many authors will tell you that is the best way to write.
Yeah.
Is, you know, they will tell you who they are. They will tell you their story. You're just a scribe.
Right.
Yeah, so that's probably a good thing that happened with you.
And I think also, you know, I worked in New York, like I said, for about 20 years. And so I know Manhattan. But some of this takes place in Brooklyn. And I know Brooklyn, but I don't know Brooklyn. And so, you know, trying to write something that someone from Brooklyn might recognize, you know. So I had to get some help. Yeah, and call some friends and say, you know, is there a place like this in Brooklyn? And what's the difference between Red Hook and Park Slope? And, you know, and things like that. That was kind of sticky because it's a book of fiction, but there has to be some parts of reality.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying, especially when you're basing a story at a real place, and you know people are going to be reading, they will, be
and they're going to, you know,
they'll be making those comparisons.
Harlem is not downtown, honey. You got that so wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
You get hung up on little facts like that.
Right.
So you self-published.
Yes.
Did you think about going the traditional publishing route?
I did, but after I attended a couple of conferences, it was made known to us that to go that route, 9 times out of 10, you had to have an agent. And actually, one of the first conferences, and I just thought about this, one of the first conferences that I went to in Virginia, you could pay to have like a 10-minute session with an agent where you give them the synopsis of your book. And if what they liked, they would give you a card and say, you know, send me your manuscript or whatever.
Right.
And so I did that. And I did 3 agents. One, it really wasn't her genre. But surprisingly, the other 2 were really, they were interested. They gave me their card. And it was like, you know, send me the first 10 pages of your manuscript. But that was right at the time that I stopped writing. I didn't touch the book.
How long did it take for you to write it?
From beginning to end, it probably took me 3.5 years. But a year I didn't write. So I never contacted them because I didn't have a finished book. I didn't, at that point, I probably had 10 pages, but I don't know. Something stopped me.
Are you considering sending it to them now? Or are you comfortable with the self-publishing route?
You know, I'm open to just about anything at this point. You know, if someone was interested, the book is finished now. So, you know,
whichever way
the wind blows.
Okay. And I know you're happy. What did that feel like, being able to say, it is done? It is finished. Send it to the editor.
It was
as a first-time author.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was just. I remember I was holding it in my hand, and I actually through the editing. But when I finished, at the end, I wrote the end, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I have this.
You pushed that baby out.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was just crazy. And you know, I'm calling my mom and my sister and everybody, and I'm like, I finished the book. I'm finished. And you know,
it's
my
a
friends,
huge accomplishment, because you know what, I remember hearing, and I can't remember what the percentage is, but there's a very, very high percentage of writers that never finish their books. I mean, a very high percentage. I think it was like 80 something. I mean, it's huge. It blew my mind when I heard that. So to actually write and finish a book, even though you and I both know that there are a lot of books out there, a lot of people who have finished, but when you consider there's a lot more who started and didn't finish.
It was an amazing feeling.
It
really was amazing. It was better once it was edited, but it was amazing. It really was.
So the self-publishing route and the business of writing and marketing your book. Let's talk about that a little bit.
You would think that writing the book is the hardest part, but I really think the marketing is the hardest part, especially if you're just getting started. You don't have the money for a publicist, and, you know, not knowing the business, trying to research and do everything on your own, you know, especially if you don't have the money, the funds to really, you know, go out there and get somebody. So for me, even the time that it took me to complete the book from beginning to end, I don't think is as hard as the marketing part, because you like the book and your friends like the book,
right?
But unless you have 50,000 friends, you know, it's trying to get the word out about your book in the way that you can do it and afford to do it.
And what roads did you take?
Well, I had a book launch, and we had the craziest rain that day. Oh my God. It was like monsoon, and I just remember saying, nobody's going to come out. Nobody's going to come out. This weather is horrible. And my friends showed up and showed out. It was awesome. And it's really been through word of mouth and from the awesome reviews that I've gotten.
Matter of fact, I want to read one of the reviews that I had found that I thought was pretty awesome on Amazon. You've had actually a number of people review the book. This is one of the earlier reviews, I think, from when you published it. It said, I absolutely loved it from start to finish. The book was well written, engaging, and an easy read. J.P. Dallas is an excellent writer, and Fade to Black was simply wonderful. And then she goes on to talk about the characters, but my favorite part is looking forward to the next book featuring Shalimar. Hint, hint. So, I mean, you definitely have built a fan base for your book, which, again, is incredible, given that this is your first book and you really, really kind of hit the ground running, and you kind of, I want to say, fell into writing versus saying, I want to be a writer, and taking those steps.
That is so true. This has nothing to do with me. Honestly, I had nothing to
but
do
now
with
that it's you've been successful in accomplishing this goal. This is what you want to do.
It's a
You've
passion.
started your
It's
a passion, right?
It's
you
a
started
passion
your writer's
now.
journey. Yeah.
It's a passion. I was watching I don't know, one of the talk shows, and one of the actresses, I don't even know who she was, but she was saying, I never wanted to be an actress. I just fell into it. And it was once I started learning the craft of acting, I loved it. And that's how I feel. It's like, if I could sit home all day and write and make it honest, a decent living, I would do that. Because it really sparked something in me that I just had no idea was there.
Right. What are some of the writers that you kind of are inspired by?
Well, Walter Mosley.
Absolutely.
Number one on the list. You know what? I don't know that I have favorite authors. I think for me, it's the genre. I am addicted to the crime fiction. And so there are sisters, Perry O'Shaughnessy. I hope I'm saying their last name right. But there are two sisters who write under one name. And they have a series featuring a female lawyer. And it just, I don't know, I think they're on like book 12 or 13 at this point. And I really fell in love with their writing. And I felt, because it's murder mysteries, which is me. So I read everybody. He stands out. Walter Mosley stands out to me, really. But I try to read everybody, especially in the genre.
Okay.
Especially in the genre.
So what's next?
I'm working on book 2. I'm still writing poems, and just trying to stretch myself. This book has taken me a little bit longer than the first book because I am trying to take these characters in uncharted waters, for me especially. It's international. They're going international. Crime is going international.
Well, thank you so much, JP.
Thank
the time
you.
Is amazingly going
Thank
very
you for
quickly.
this opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to come back when
I
book
will.
2 drops so that we
Yes.
can talk about it and celebrate the success of this book, and as well as the second one
Thank
that's
you so
coming out.
much.
I see a bright future for you
Thank
as a
you.
writer. So thank you for sharing your gift with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and Dreamcatchers, join me next week in the Haven when award-winning author K.L. Brady stops by to chat about her latest spy thriller and romance novels. If you're a writer or a reader in those genres, you definitely want to tune in. And I know that you're already subscribed to our YouTube channel and are streaming us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Sonos, SoundCloud, Alexa, and Spreaker. And if you're not, what's the holdup? Until next week, catch fire on purpose.